Welcome to the Layin the Body podcast. I'm Terrence.
And I'm Lucas.
And this is the place for me to head rush into lots of hockey. Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode number 5,
Yep,
right?
it's number 5.
Number 5. We're making our way
so
up there. Moving. This is the second or third week into the new NHL season. And we're back here to talk about some hockey.
Yes. So I think I could say this flat out. NHL is not doing what they need to do in terms of COVID protocols. I know they changed it recently this past week, but it's almost you've got a couple games every night that are getting postponed. I think you've got like 6 or 7 teams that currently are not playing until February 10th or 11th.
It's very unfortunate.
It's bad.
It's very unfortunate, and teams are now getting behind in the standings because of that, and it doesn't make they're all going to make their games up. It's just annoying.
They're all going to play 56 games, but it's annoying because again,
you're trying to get teams together for a playoff soon. Do you think it's going to be a bubble for the playoffs?
Oh, they're 100% doing a bubble for the playoffs. That's not a question. My biggest problem with it is the COVID protocols that they have. You knew this was going to happen. They're not in a bubble. They're seeing people outside of it as much as it's limited.
But that's like every team, though.
Yeah, but that's my point. They're just not doing it the way they need to. The travel's limited, but the teams are doing what they have to do. But I'll say really the arena staff and the way everything's set up in each arena for when the teams come in, I think is a joke. They're doing stuff, but it's not to the extent that needs to be done. Great, they're wiping crap down, they're doing all that, but you got to do more than that. It's a big issue. So they added a bunch of changes to those COVID protocols, but outside of that, it's been pretty bad so far.
Yeah, I agree, but at least we got hockey. That's all I really care about.
I couldn't agree more.
But let's get into the hockey stuff, shall we? Not about the negatives of all that. Well, we will get into some negatives. I mean, our team isn't doing that good, but we won't talk about them really today. But
so I think we could just start off with, instead of going into we're not going to do highs and lows right now, but some players that have come back. Start with David Pastrnak. He burst onto the scene pretty well.
Have you seen that goal against Philly?
How about that whole game against Philly? He
was amazing.
Destroyed that. He was great that entire game.
That whole everyone doubted Boston. Chara left. They lost a lot of defense, like Krug, and to be honest, I always thought that they were going to be so good, and they are proving me right. Brad Marchand proven to be even more elite than he's ever been. Bergeron, the same thing. Charlie McAvoy is also up there with one of the elite defensemen in this league.
And they're finally getting some depth scoring with Craig Smith, Charlie Coyle. But speaking of David Pastrnak, 4 games, he's got 8 points. He got 5 goals. He's been on fire since he came back, to say the least. And the Bruins they only have, 1 regulation loss?
Yeah. One so far to the Islanders, and it was only 1-0. It was a very lucky win.
Yeah, so the Bruins are doing what they have to do.
They've been very dominant the whole time,
and they've been getting good goaltending, which is huge. So
the whole team's just, as a collective, been amazing. And speaking of a team that's been amazing as a collective, the Florida Panthers have yet to lose in game of regulation, 6-0-2 in 8 games. Now this team is a very interesting team. I thought that they weren't going to do that good coming in, as they just had a abysmal season last year, and they just didn't go up to expectation, signing Bobrovsky,
losing Mike Hoffman.
But the team is doing pretty good, and a player that I want to point out is Carter Verhaeghe. This guy, very, very good signing for the Florida Panthers, playing with Alexander Barkov and Anthony Duclair. Now,
it's a good line to be on.
He's a good compliment to Barkov, and I knew that he was going to be good. They split up Barkov and Huberdeau, and I was a little bit skeptical of them splitting up Barkov and Huberdeau.
Yeah, they got to get depth scoring, though, so that was a smart move.
And Huberdeau's doing amazing with 4 goals and 8 assists in 12 games played on that second line. And then on the first line with Barkov, they put Carter Verhaeghe, who has 6 goals and 3 assists, 9 points. He's always been a very good young depth player, and I always knew he is a great complement to the good players. Do you know those type of players that are good complements to the good players? You have the Jake Gensel with the Sidney Crosby with the...
Yeah, I know what you mean. For
sure. Got Patrick Hornquist with Crosby back in the day too. You got those complements to the good players, and Carter Verhaeghe is a great complement to Barkov. They're meshing so well. I knew Verhaeghe had the skills to be very good, and they signed to a 1-year, $1 million deal. and he's going to be an RFA at the end of the year, so they could still keep him.
Yeah, but
So-
I got to tell you, my big key for the Florida Panthers, yes, they've got the two goalies, Sergei Bobrovsky and Chris
it's Dragier.
Drigier. Yeah, they both got 3 wins, and a loss
Dragier's
in
been
overtime.
playing very good.
But yeah, that's the big key for me is that, look, Bobrovsky will pick it up at some point this season, hopefully, but Drigier has posted very good numbers, 1.72 goals against average. He's only allowed 7 goals in those 4 games.
This team has been a very surprising team to start off the
Defensively,
season.
I think it shocked me a little bit more. I knew that they would have decent offense, but defensively they've been playing very well, so that's a nice sight to see.
Yes, it was very nice to see. Do you think these guys are going to keep it up?
Yeah, I think they'll be fine.
Do you think they're going to keep it up? Do you think they're going to fall off at any time?
Nope.
Nope.
Listen, I'm not saying that they won't fall off a little bit, but right now, if you check out that division, Detroit, Nashville, Chicago,
But here's the
they've
thing,
been
like,
atrocious.
yeah, but you have Florida, and then you also have
I know.
Carolina and Dallas, who haven't played a lot of games. They've only played 8, and they are only 2 and 3 points behind the Florida Panthers.
Tampa and Dallas, I know.
Actually, no, but
they'll be
Florida
there.
also played
But
8.
guess what? Then you got Florida, Columbus, and the Hurricanes. I'd put Columbus has played 4 more games than Florida. If they still have a point back of them, I wouldn't worry too much about Florida at this point. If they keep doing what they're doing, they'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, we're also going to just say that Florida is one of our highs for the week, as they self-explanatory.
Yeah, it's hard not to say that they're the high of the week in the entire league, considering that they haven't lost a
They've just been
game in
playing
regulation.
very good. Another high this week that I like to say is the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, they're a great team. Everyone knows the Tampa Bay Lightning and what they're capable of doing, and they are proving very good. Even the last 4 games they have won, they versed Nashville and Detroit in those two game sets.
Doesn't matter who you're playing though if you're picking up points.
Yeah, and they've just been hot. Stamkos back before he was injured, and he has 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points. Braden Point also holding it, the new contract that he got, 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points. Hedman, Norris Trophy candidate, like always, 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points, great on the back end. Anthony Cirelli, young guy that I really like, 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points. Like, they got great depth scoring, great defense, great goaltending, and Vasilevsky, very solid. Like, again, another candidate for the Vezina with a 9.31 save percentage. And
You get a little bit of a
1.88
help,
against
though.
average.
Not taking anything away from Vasilevsky, get a little bit of help when you are the only goalie on your team that's actually going to get to play games. He's played every single one this season.
This guy is amazing, though, and he's just very solid, and I would say best goalie in the league. And this team just have been made so well. Back when Steve Yzerman was in charge of this team, now with Brisebois taking the reins as GM, now it's just like this team is just built so perfectly for a championship run, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in the Stanley Cup final again this year once Kucherov comes back. And people doubted this team because Kucherov wasn't going to be in. But they are still a very good team, and they are coming out strong. Now, Lucas, let me ask you, we talked about a couple very strong teams of the week. Tell me a very weak team this week.
Very weak team this week?
They didn't play a lot this week. But
you know what? I don't care. New York Islanders, again, another low of the week. This team started out 3-1, and now they're sitting at a pretty 3-4-2 at the bottom of the division, dropping their last 5 games. Yes, they picked up 1 point each of the last 2 games in overtime, but if you really analyze each game so far in that 5-game losing streak, fine, you lost 2-0 in New Jersey. You get into the Capitals games,
they blew it.
Listen, I'm not saying that you would have won an overtime or a shootout, but you blew a point in the last 30 seconds, losing 3-2 with under a minute to go. The next game, you have a 3-0 lead heading into the second period. You're arguably the best 5-on-5 defensive team in hockey. You blow it. 5 goals let up in the second period. You lose 6-3. That was a 2-point game that you should have had. Should have had another one at least against the Capitals. And then Philly, not much else to say other than
they just got snubbed, I feel. They didn't play their best hockey.
They didn't play their best hockey, but guess what?
They definitely could have gotten out 2 points in one of those games.
You got 2 points, but you should have had 3. I'm not saying you should have had 4, but you should have had a win in one of those.
Yeah, you should have had 3.
Without a doubt. The Islanders are dropping points when they shouldn't.
And I feel like this They had a little break because of COVID because Buffalo played New Jersey.
And you know what?
New
I'm happy
Jersey
about
had a
that.
big COVID
Just
outbreak.
like last year when they were on a 7-game losing streak, and then they got a couple weeks and months off, and then they went into the bubble for the playoffs, and then they ended up in the Eastern Conference Finals. Guess what? Maybe we can get a little more of some of that luck, some time to take off. You know what I'm saying? Like, cool the head and come right back and put some wins together because it's desperate. Listen, they play Pittsburgh, the Rangers, Pittsburgh, and then Boston this week. Pittsburgh, those two against Pittsburgh and then the one against the Rangers are so critical because, again, you're chasing those two teams for that fourth spot. You got to get those wins. Starting tonight, you got to get a win in regulation against Pittsburgh. You got to bounce back, get on the right track.
I agree with that. Now, we do talk about the Islanders a lot because we are big Islander fans, but that's going to be the last we talk about the Islanders. We're going to hope for a win tonight, and we're going to go into another low. Another one of my lows is the Vancouver Canucks. They are 6-8.
They've been abysmal
in 14 games. Now, they do have the offense. Their offense has great firepower. Quinn Hughes, a great young player coming into this league. I knew he was going to be amazing. Brock Besser back to form with 8 goals. That's the second most in the league, just behind Tyler Toffoli with 9. You have JT Miller with 13. You have Bo Horvat with 12 and 14. You have Pedersen, who's been underperforming, but still 9 points in 14 games isn't a slouch.
Yeah, for no one.
But, like, he should be higher up. I mean, he's a little bit underwhelming
He'll get up there. I wouldn't worry about him.
And they also got some young players like Niels Höglander, who has been playing some solid hockey. Their defense hasn't been the best, but they've had some decent, like, defensive performances.
But you know what? You know why they're 6-8?
Their goaltending.
The goaltending has been atrocious.
I knew Braden Holtby was an issue from the start.
Yeah, well, guess what? When both your goalies are sitting at a 3.63 and a 3.81 goals against average,
and save percentages below 900.
Yeah, that's an issue right there and a huge red flag. Yeah, great. You guys both got 3 wins, but combined you got 8 losses. So
yeah, and
not
it's
much better.
It's really like they need to pick it up because this team is struggling big time. They were trying to make the transition. The reason why they didn't pay Markstrom is because they need to make. If you paid Markstrom that 6-7 year deal that he got with Calgary, he would be in his mid-30s by the time the deal was up, and he would be being paid like $6 to $7 million.
Yeah, I don't think you could afford that.
Now, they wouldn't be able to afford that, so they want to make the transition into a young Thatcher Demko and maybe a less cheap Braden Holtby who can maybe have a resurgence. Now, the goaltending and partly the defense is the fault of this team, and it is coming to the point where there might be no return for the Vancouver Canucks if they do not get their goaltending situation put together. I would say something interesting. This is just going out into the universe of trade rumors and stuff. But Frederik Andersen, a part of the Toronto Maple Leafs, is 1 year left on $5 million, which
and they don't have any money to spend.
Yeah, they don't got any money, and he's been in trade rumors a lot. You could see Toronto maybe make a trade Frederik Andersen there. They're playing amazing, so I wouldn't really see it. But someone that is on the trade market for a goalie that could be very good right there, that's Toronto. I mean, I feel like they really need to look at their goalie situation very closely and see if they should make a move or not for a goalie.
And speaking of making a move, listen, that move that you just spoke about, unlikely, but you know what? Anything's possible in today's world. Yeah. That would be to help improve the team and resurrect a position that they really have never had since Bobby Lou. Going to look at the Montreal Canadiens for this one. Another one that you had mentioned to me a little while ago, Sidney Crosby possibly. There have been trade rumors.
They are talking. There's a lot of talk about Sidney Crosby on the trade. Now, Pittsburgh, Jim Rutherford, the GM, just stepped down for some reason.
A laughing stock.
He made some pretty great moves in the cup runs, but
lately he's been a laughing stock.
He's made some very questionable moves as of recent. He stepped down, and now they're looking for a GM, and they got an interim right now. But right now, there's some rumors around Sidney Crosby. Crosby stayed in Pittsburgh his whole career after being drafted first overall back in 2004.
And it's hard to see that he would ever go anywhere, but now they're actually considering it.
Now, He's been decent this year. 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 games.
Yeah,
10
but when
games
that's
played.
your best player right now.
Like, the Penguins have been
pretty
very
bad.
underwhelming for what they should have been doing. And it's to the point where, like, some Sidney Crosby rumors have been around to maybe his hometown team in the Montreal Canadiens. Now, thinking about this, the Montreal Canadiens are as good as they've ever been in their probably recent memory.
It's the best they've ever been since the 90s.
Like, I wouldn't say the 90s maybe, but like since
90s.
maybe, who knows, but they are very, very good. They are. We talked about them like every time on this podcast.
Well, yeah, you got a right to talk about them. They're making a lot of noise around the NHL right now when you're
7 goals,
2-2.
7 wins, 2 losses, 2 OT losses, second in that Scotia North Division. And now they are currently, right now, playing against the Senators, tied 1-1 in the first, as we're recording this on Saturday afternoon. But they are just, like I mentioned before, Tyler Toffoli with the most goals in the league, Jeff Petrie, who I mentioned a lot, Nick Suzuki, Josh, and they're just a team game coming together. Their goaltending, like, doing pretty good. Jake Allen, who they just brought in as a safety net for Price, who usually plays, but he's been doing decent. Like, Jake Allen's been a great backup to Price, and that just shows, like, they needed a backup to help, and right now they are doing that.
And yeah, they got it for sure. My thing is, though, look, Jake Allen, he's 3-1. And yes, Carey Price, 4 wins, 1 loss, and 2 OT losses. Crazy thing for me is this. He's allowed 20 goals. He's got a goals against average of 2.81 and a save percentage of .899.
Just
you would not expect
that's
anybody.
not what you want from a $10.5 million
Yes, but
goalie.
guess what? When you've got 4 regulation, when you've got a total of 6 points in 7 games for your team.
Yeah.
Sorry, not 6 points. You got what I bet. They have 10 points.
I get it.
In 7 out of 14 that they could possibly get when he's in net. I don't think you can complain.
No, you're
That's
not
fantastic.
complaining. And here's the thing. Sidney Crosby was in Quebec-born player, grown up, loving the Canadians.
Do we see a Tavares story part 2?
Maybe a Tavares story part 2, except a trade, not a signing.
Yeah, I'm sure Pens fans would be very happy about that. I don't know what they would get in return, but
here's the thing: the Montreal Canadiens have a lot of cap space. They have a lot of cap space, and Crosby, even though one of the best players in the league, doesn't have the highest cap hit in the world at 8.7. 88. He's signed for 5 more years, and this is just another thing that could come up, and it's crazy because no one would ever think Sidney Crosby would be moving out, but I think the Canadiens could be a dark horse to maybe pick up a Sidney Crosby, but as long as the Penguins are staying high on their horse and they aren't going to collapse, then it's not going to happen. But if the Penguins completely fall off, which it is very possible, I do not see this team. I mean, I know you got your opinion on this team.
I don't think the team. Look, again, I just don't see that 4th spot in the East is so blown open because look, unless there's a complete breakdown by Boston, Philly, or Washington, however they finish, they're 1, 2, and 3 in whatever order. The 4th seed between Pittsburgh, New Jersey, the Rangers, the Islanders, and Buffalo, it's blown open because, like I said, the Islanders pick it up. They arguably should be it, but every team there is a joke right now, and there's no real reason for Pittsburgh to be there. They have, again, they're sitting at 11
No team
points.
has really proved themselves to really be in part of that 4th spot.
4 of their 5 wins are post-regulation, and their 1 regulation win was with 30 seconds remaining, a lucky bounce goal against the Rangers. They cannot close out games.
Those bottom 5 teams in that East Division, I feel
they're a -7.
They do not deserve
a playoff spot. That's just that
-7 goal differential. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That's
now it's like Pittsburgh. If they fall off, then who knows? Maybe Crosby can get traded, but this is just an interesting trade rumor that we could see come to fruition, but it's also very unlikely. Now, that's another that we're going to stop talking about lows for a second. We're going to talk about a little high in this East Division. That's the New York Rangers.
Yeah, shocking that I'd be saying this, but they've been 3-0 in 1 of their past 4 games. Been on a little bit of a hot streak. even though we're not going to really get into it, but the Tony D'Angelo news, obviously, Rachel Slur, George, Keandre Miller fighting Igor Shesterkin in the locker room. Crazy stuff, but David Quinn's got them turned around after that.
I feel like that was a spark, really, for the team to come together. Like, some cancer moving out of the locker room, put them on waivers now.
Yeah, listen, their team's playing average. That's all I could say. Artemi Panarin. The dude's got 15 points in 10 games. He's doing great. Outside of that, pretty average for the most part. Goaltending is average. Nothing crazy.
Yeah,
Alexander Georgiev has not played well.
Only against the Islanders he's played well.
Yeah, he's got one win. It's against the Islanders, and to be honest with you, that was partially on the Islanders' part of just not playing hockey. Rangers been playing average, but they're high of the week for sure, being 3-1 in their past 4 for this week. So, giving you some highs, giving you some lows. Terrence, got a player. Give me any player.
Any player that
Give me a high player of the week.
High player of the week. Well, do you want me to give you McDavid or Draisaitl? Which one?
I mean, I was going to give you the other one, but...
okay,
sure.
So which one do you want?
Pick them both.
Okay, I'll pick them both. McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah, they've got... What do they got? McDavid has 24 points in 12, and Draisaitl 22 points in 12 games. Ridiculous. Again, how many points did McDavid have the other night? I know Draisaitl had 6.
I think
did they both have 6?
I think it was around 6.
I think they both had 6 points in that game.
Let's go check that really quickly.
That's crazy, but Oilers have been the Oilers again, average team, but we're not getting into the team players being specific. They're insane.
Just like that whole team is just like, they're just like a whole cluster. Like, you could see a great team on one end of the spectrum, and then on the other side, like, you could see them collapse defensively. Like, you're not gonna see a great defensive game from this team like anytime, but you got these guys putting up great points, great goals. But
yeah, so they've been on a hot streak. But yeah, so that was
Edmonton is just a weird team, man. Like, they're 4th, they're 6-6. They were one of my lows last week, but now they've been on a 3-game win streak.
Yeah, and who knows with that team? Again, that 4th spot's also blown open between them and Vancouver. So, who knows?
It's very interesting to watch this team and watch them play, and to be like, I'm just, like, baffled, because they're just, like, on their high horse. Of course, they played the Senators, but one of them they played the Maple Laughs and won. Now, and then they played the Senators 2 times and they won. So, I mean, the whole team is just... They're going to give you a fun, high-scoring game every time that you watch. Yeah. And it's going to be very interesting how they do. And McDavid had 5 points that game.
Draisaitl at 6.
Draisaitl
that's crazy in itself. So, yeah, those are going to be the high players of the week. I think we could agree on that one.
I mean, like, I can give you more. I can give you, like, those are self-explanatory highs. Now... As a high right now, I'm just going to give you it right now. We talked about him a little bit last week, Joe Pavelski. Now, this guy on the Dallas Stars team who's only played 8 games, 7 goals, 8 assists, 15 points. This guy's carrying a Dallas Stars team with a lack of star power at the moment that they usually have. Tyler Sagan's out with an injury.
Jamie Benn's been
in and out. And it's like Radulov's also been in there, but the team is playing very, very good, even though, like, the team's been playing very well, even though they've on a little bit of, like, a skid right now. I mean, they started off very hot, and then they went 2-1 after they went 3-0, you know?
But you can have bad stretches when you're a team like them. It's okay.
You're going to have bad stretches, but they're just a really good team, and Pavelski's just carrying this team. Radulov, also no slouch either, 3 goals, 8 assists with 11. Klingberg, 2 goals, 8 assists, 10 points on that back end. Guryanov, young guy, popping in with 9 points. Rupe Hintz, young guy, hopping in with 7 points. Like, Miro Heiskanen, great on the back end. I love myself a Miro Heiskanen. Their goaltending, holy crap. I just like their defense is just really good. Hudobin is holding the fort. Just Dallas is really good, and it's... Who would have thought that Joe Pavelski would have a resurgence in his 34, 35-year-old season right now with the Dallas Stars?
Yeah, it's crazy to think it. He's been fantastic. So
now, Lucas, give me a low player that you think isn't performing to their expectation.
A low player not performing to their expectations. This is a tough one. Gotta give me a second.
I got you.
No,
I can give you one if you want.
No, I think I can give you one. Yeah, Elias Pettersson. It's not that he's been doing bad. He's been underperforming though. 14 games. He's only got 9 points. So nothing crazy there. He's been doing average, but they expect more from their second year superstar. So definitely something to watch out for there. But again, he's fallen under the radar a little bit because of Vancouver's scoring depth this year. But I wouldn't worry too much about him. I'm sure that he'll turn it around. But definitely for this past week, I can give him a low. I think we move into some power rankings, maybe?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool.
Give me your power rankings right now.
1 through 5?
Yeah, give me 1 through 5.
Yeah, I got you. Number 1. Shake it up this week. Gonna give it to Boston. Boston jumps into the top 5 for sure. They've been lights out. That's my number 1. My number 2, I'm gonna stick with Montreal. A little skid there, but guess what? They're fantastic. Number 3, gonna stick in that division. We're going to stick with Toronto Maple Leafs. Nothing bad I could say about any of those 3 teams. Number 4 is weird. I'm going to drop Colorado out. I'm going to drop Vegas out. Actually, you know what? I take that back. I'm going to drop Colorado out. They've been very over the past few games, but Vegas I'll give it 4. Again, they've only played 8 games. They're 6-1-1, but no slouch by any means. And then you know what? I'm going to give number 5 to the Florida Panthers. They're 6-0-2. Haven't lost in regulation yet. You guys have been stunting at every position on the ice. Guess what? You get the number 5 seed for me.
Perfect. Now, mine, I'm gonna do what you said. Number 1, Boston. Boston's been very good. Boston's been very good. You can't really go against them right now, as they are just running on all cylinders at the moment. Now, second, I would go with, I would say the Montreal Canadiens. They've been on fire, and the Canadiens, they are a team, they're a force to be reckoned with at the moment. And yeah, I wouldn't want to verse the Canadiens in the moment. Stay in the division, Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm going to go next. Toronto's been very good. Going to make sure that their offense is just going to carry them all the way to the spotlight. Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, Tavares, Nylander, Frederick Anderson on the back end. Justin Hull, who's been a pretty good defenseman that surprised me. It's coming from depth. But then they got Morgan Riley, who's also still been very good. Jake Muzzin. I mean, just a great team there in Toronto. And they're a great regular season team. Let's see how they do in the playoffs. Tampa Bay, I'm going to go number 4. They've been amazing. Just been getting up there all the time. And it's going to be very interesting how they continue to do, because they played some weak opponents, but
gotta keep Tampa up there.
Keeping Tampa up there.
They'd be my number 6 if I had to.
And I'm going to say Colorado, number 5, even though they've just been very good, very solid. Even they're 7-3-1. I mean, you can't deny that.
There's a lot of good teams, but
those are going to be my top 5. And yeah, I mean, again, another week where not really a lot of news. Not really a lot of big news. And it's
quiet week overall.
A lot of COVID.
Yeah, a lot of teams shutting down. Devils, Sabres, Wild, Avalanche, a few. But, yeah, crazy week for the NHL. But
so that's why we talked a lot about a little bit of the trade rumors that we just talked about. But, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how the regular season comes out. You have anything else to say, bro?
No, I think that wraps it up pretty well for me. I think this week is going to be pretty interesting. A couple of teams like the Sabres and Devils are going to be coming back from their COVID ban, I'll call it. They're going to be playing games later this week, so it'll be cool to see. It'll be interesting to see how the new protocols that the NHL put in place for the COVID regulations, if they change them again, I figure they'll probably change them week to week to make them better, but if the ones that they just put in place are any more efficient than the last, I think that would be my biggest thing. But outside of that, I think I'm good.
Yeah, I agree. Now, we hope you guys like this episode, number 5. Now, we will try to make these episodes a little bit 30 minutes to 45, and we will try to make these episodes a little bit more exciting, even though there hasn't been a lot. We're going to try and talk about more trade rumors, like that Crosby trade rumor that has been a little bit flying around there, because who doesn't like trade rumors?
Yeah, trade rumors are always fun. I think we're going to get a special guest in on the next one.
We'll try and get some guests, too, to, like, spice it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think
maybe
next one we're going to have somebody here.
Maybe some hothead Islander fans that hopefully will be happy after some good wins.
We've already got the two of us. I got a few people in mind. But if you ever want to be on here, just let us know in the comments below.
Let us know in the comments, If you liked it and you want to add any comments on what we should do better or what we should talk about in the next one, just put in the comments down below. Tell us what teams you like and tell us your power rankings and tell us what you think about the teams that we talked about or just teams that we might have forgotten about. Who knows? But with that being said, I'm Terrence.
And I'm Lucas.
And we'll see you in the next one. Sayonara.